Hey, what's going on, everyone? Today I want to build a React app using the Pokemon TCG.io API. We can go there and go to documentation, and we're mainly going to be using this cards endpoint and the types endpoint here. I'll show you really quick what we're creating. We're going to end up in the end, we're going to end up using Create React App, Tailwind CSS, and Axios, as well as this, the Pokemon TCG API. So this is what we're going to be creating in the end. You'll be able to, it'll grab an initial 50 cards. You'll be able to search by name for a Pokemon. So let's say Charizard. And you'll get all the different Charizard cards up to 50 because that's all I'm doing in the code. You can change that to whatever you want. Or we could say I want all fighting type Pokemon. I'll give you all fighting, or maybe fighting and fire, which I guess isn't a thing. I do know there is one fire and grass, so you can mix them or combine them as well. And so let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so first thing, let's go into the directory. Let's open up our terminal and go into the directory that you want to create your app in. And let's say npx create react app, and let's call it Pokemon TCG. Search? Sure, why not? This will probably take a minute, so I will cut the video and be back in just a moment. Alright, that's all set. So let's go ahead and cd into the directory and open VS Code. We'll use the code dot command. And of course it opened on my other monitor. What are you doing? Come over here. And let's put it full screen for now. And let's do a little bit of cleanup first. So let's go in and say app.js, and if you hold control here on your keyboard and go to index CSS, logo SVG, service worker, setup tests, right click, delete all that, get it out of there, go to index.js, get rid of service worker, and get rid of all this code in the bottom, get rid of index CSS, save, go to app CSS. I'm going to grab it all, get rid of it, go into app.js, I'm going to get rid of that logo, I'm going to change this to an arrow function. It's purely preference, feel free to if you want to, if not then don't. I'll go here, get rid of this class name, oop, what the, we're just going to put h1 in here that says app. And then let's just start her up really quick and say yarn start. Start it up really quick. Apologies. Alright, here we go. And we should just see app. Come. There we go. Perfect. Let's go ahead and get Tailwind brought in as well. So let's think about how I want to do this. Okay, let's go to our terminal, stop the server, and let's do yarn add, what is it I need? I gotta think for a second. Let's do Tailwind CSS. We're gonna need post CSS -CLI, auto prefixer, make sure I spell it right, and I don't think, you know, let's just bring Axios in now because we're doing it. So we'll also bring in Axios. Just in case this takes a minute, I'll cut the video and I'll come back when it's done. Alright, so the next thing we want to do here is we want to create so let's go into our project. We're going to go right into the root directory here. And we are going to create a new file, and we're going to call it post css.config.js. And in here, we're going to say const tailwind CSS equals require tailwind CSS. Whoa, can't type today, apparently. And I got an extra space right there. Okay, cool. And let's do module.exports equals, and I'm going to say, wow, I cannot type today. I apologize. Plugins. And then inside of plugins, we'll say tailwind CSS as a function. And we're going to look for a file that is going to be /tailwind.config.js. And then we're also going to require auto prefixer. Save that. Let's go ahead and create that Tailwind config file. But to do that, we're going to go back to our terminal, and we're going to do npx, or I'm sorry, not npx, apologies. We're going to say yarn Tailwind init. Jeez, wow. Sorry about that. And that should create our tailwind.config file with our, it's empty. Everything else is already going to be brought in from Tailwind because we're going to build it with the Tailwind CSS file, which we're going to add now. So go into your source folder, create a new file. I like to call it tailwind.css. You can call it main CSS, base CSS, index, whatever you want to call it. I like to call it Tailwind CSS. And then we're going to bring in these 3 Tailwind directives. I'll leave it on the screen for a second in case you need to copy it. You can also get them from the Tailwind website, which I will leave a link to in the description. Now we want to go into our package.json, and we're going to add a script right here, which is going to be build Tailwind, and in here we're going to say post CSS /src /tailwind.css -o for output and /src/app.css. We're going to use our app CSS as our CSS style sheet that's going to put all the Tailwind styles in there and anything else that we might need. Okay. So let's go ahead and go to our terminal and say yarn build Tailwind. Alright, done. Let's go to our app CSS, and you can see all the Tailwind styles have been put in here. Okay. Let's also yarn start. Go to our browser, and then it should restart and be really small up here in the corner. The word app. Yep, there it is. So we know we have Tailwind. Beautiful. Alright. So what do we want to do next? Let's go to the app.js, and what we'll do is just kind of create our little layout here. It'll have the title, and it'll have just a spot that we're going to put our search form and our card list in for our cards. Okay, so get rid of this h1 really quick. Inside of this div, let's do class name, and I'm going to move a little quick here because I'm going to try to get this all done in one video. If you see it come out in a series, then you know that it went a little long, but I'm just going to chuck along here. So let's say flex call, and then we're going to do another div. I'm going to use the shortcut here with Emmet, so I'm just going to say .flex.justify center .bg -red -700 and hit tab, and it'll do that div for me. And let's do an h1 text -3xl text white and py2, and inside of here we're going to say Pokemon TCG search, and let's just actually take a look at what that looks like. Boom, perfect, exactly what we're looking for. Let's drop a column in here. It's just going to be .flex call, and then for now I'm going to put 2 divs in here just to take up space. For just to look at, to know this is where things need to be. And then let's think for a second. We're going to need some state, right? So we're going to use hooks in this. We're not going to we're going to use all functional components and hooks. So let's bring in use state, and let's do const cards set cards equals react use state. We're going to set it to null to start. Well, we could just set it to an array, actually, technically, because we know it's going to be an array. So these 2 divs that are down here, we are going to go ahead and say we want a search form, right? So we're going to call it, and then we want a card list, and the search form is going to hold the search, the text input and the different Pokemon types that you can filter by, and the cards are going to hold the card list, sorry. And this is going to take cards, which is going to be equal to cards, And the search form is going to use set cards. So we'll pass set cards as set cards, right? We should get some errors here because we don't have a search form or card list. Perfect. Let's go into our source directory and create a new folder called components. Oop, cancel. Didn't mean to move that. And inside of components, let's create the search form because I forgot already what I was doing. Apologies. Search form JS. Let's do RAFCE tab, and that's going to create a functional component with an export default for me. That extension, just so you know, I'll show you really quick, is going to be where is it? React. Wow, losing my mind here. Bookmark, highlight, yeah, there it is. ES7 React Redux GraphQL React Native Snippets. That's where that RAFCE came from, just so you know. Let's go here and let's bring this down a little bit. I didn't even think I need to make the letters a little bit bigger. I apologize. I just made the font bigger. Everything was kind of small, probably that whole video. Hopefully not too small to read. All right, so in the search form, let's put it over here for a second. Close this. What do we want here? Let's just put an H1 that says search form. It's going to be getting a prop, right? Set cards, which we're going to just destructure, set cards. And then let's import. With that same extension, you can type IMPT, hit tab, and it will do the import for prop types. So let's do search form dot prop types equals, and let's say set cards is, and then here you can do PTF, and it'll do prop types dot func. Okay. So that should be all set, and then let's also create another component called card list, and RAFCE tab. Do an H1 and just say card list, and we said that's going to take in cards, right? So you know, it's actually, let's not be lazy. It's good to practice. IMPT. Now we have prop types. Let's do card list dot prop types, and we're taking in cards, and then do PTA for array. Go up here and destructure cards. Boom, boom. We shouldn't have, let's see, card list is not defined, right. So let's go into app.js. Oh, let's see. This is a habit, this react.useState. I do this for work. So you can definitely destructure useState and bring it in on your own. So let's import search form from /component /search form. And then I'm just going to copy this down, and I'm going to say card list. So now both of those should be imported. I like to leave a space between things here. And search form and card list. So let's start with the search form, because we're going to need to be able to do some kind of search to see some results, right? So let's start in here. And let's go ahead and actually make a call for some data and actually be able to see what the data is that we're getting back, right? So let's go up here and let's import Axios from, wow, I cannot type at all today. Okay, and then let's bring in the use effect hook. And let's say use effect, and we're going to add the second slot dependency is going to be nothing because we're only going to do this once. We're going to do it like on mount basically, and let's we're going to use async await. So let's say try catch, and then we're going to do error, and we're going to console.error if it comes through. And then let's think for a second. I need to say, apologies. Take this try catch, cut it, and we're going to create a function, and this is going to say gets initial cards, and then paste that inside the function, and then go up here and make it an async function. Okay, and in the try block, we're going to say const res for response equals await axios.get, and this is going to be https api.pokemontcg.io / I think it's, hold on, let me take a look really quick. Oh, slash v1 / cards, and then we're going to say and page size in camel case equals 50, so we only get 50 cards back. We don't want to get a huge response. You can get like, I think 1,000 cards back if you want to. It's something like that. Console.log res, and let's see what happens. Oh, it helps if you call the function. So get initial cards down here. Okay, and this is how you use async await here and use effect, like how you actually make an asynchronous call. You have to create the function inside of the use effect and then call it. All right, let's open our dev tools. Control-Shift-I if you're on Windows. I think it's the same thing actually if you're on a Mac. I can't remember. And I'll refresh. We do have a response, but I'll refresh so you see it's on mount. And let's look at data, because data is what Axios is. When you use Axios, your response data comes back in the data key. So these are all of our cards inside of here. Each card has a whole bunch of stuff that we're not really going to use. We're just going to use the image and the artist and the name. Okay, so now that we're actually getting this, right, we're getting our initial cards. Let's use the set cards function that we passed in from app here, so that way we can actually try to display some things from an initial list of cards, right? So we can destructure data from res because it's res.data that we want to use. And then let's call set cards and say data. Let's look at our console really quick. Data.cards. Data.cards. And then we'll save it. And we'll go into card list. And we'll console.log cards to see what we get from the card list. And there we go. All the cards are being passed into the card list now. So let's just prove that again by 1 second here. We're going to display all the names for now inside of card list. So we also want to display like a no results thing down here as well. So let's just do that whole thing right now because the card list is not big, right? So let's go ahead and erase everything. And we're going to say return. Or we're going to say if cards.length is greater than 0, then we're gonna put some JSX in there. Otherwise, we're gonna put some other JSX, which is going to be no results. So let's do no results first, because it doesn't take any interpolation or anything really. So just so it doesn't get mad and stop yelling, I'm gonna put a null right here, and then let's do a div with an h1 inside, and that h1 is going to say no results. And then inside the list, let's do ul, and then we're going to say cards. Make sure that cards.length, cards, make sure it exists. So cards and cards.map card, and then we're going to return an li with card dot name. Okay. Oops. Sorry, I hit my mouse, the wrong button there. And that actually shows here that we're getting all the Pokemon because you can see all of their names right here in the list. Next thing I want to do is just style this up really quick. And so let me think. Let's go ahead and take this list item for the card and put it in its own component. So let's create a new file and component and say card list item.js, RAFCE, tab, a card list item. Let's think for props. What are we going to get here? We're going to get a card. We're just going to pass the whole card in. Let's go back to the card list. And in the card list, let's, instead of an LI here, let's get rid of the LI. Let's import card list item from / card list item. And then let's just return card list item. Card is equal to card. And then let's go back to the card list item. And here, let's just do an H1 and put card.name. Okay? And let's just make sure that it worked. Which you can see that it does work. Great. Just so we know what we're working with here, I'm going to say console.log card. Just so we can see the cards pop up and we know what each card is going to be giving us. And we don't really, we'll just leave it like that. What do we want to do here next? Let's actually do our card item. And just so we can see each card and have a better representation of what's going to be on the screen, right? So this is not going to be a div. This is going to be an LI because we're putting it into a UL. I want to have each one of these link to the Pokemon website, the actual official Pokemon website. So it's going to link to the official site and it'll do a search for the Pokemon card. I'll show you that in just a second. So for instance, when you click on one of these, it's going to link you to this address and it's going to pass some of the data. This would be if we pass the Cubone data, but it's going to bring you to the actual Pokemon site. And it's going to pre-fill some of this data, some of this information here, the card illustrator and the card name. And then you'll be able to click on that and go here because I don't want to go too in-depth with React Router or any of that. That's not what this tutorial is for. This is mostly about making a call to an API and using hooks to display it as well as using a form to get it. Okay, so let's go back to our card list item and let's go and add the image in here. So we're going to say image and let's do src for source, and the source for the image is going to be card.image URL. And let's also let's add some classes to this. So we're going to start styling some of this stuff. Let's do with full each auto, so that way it's responsive. And then let's also add an alt because alt responsibly or dev responsibly. And let's say name Pokemon card. So that way if it doesn't show up, it'll show just the name of the Pokemon and the card. Oh, sorry. Card.name is what I meant to say. The URL, I'm actually going to just copy part of this URL. Let's see right there, and we're going to go here and say, let's call it the poke.com, and I'm going to put it here like this, and I'll leave it on the screen for a second so you can read it and copy it down. Oops, sorry about that. Now we're going to pass the card name in, right? So let's interpolate and let's say card.name. And then we're going to do just as specific as it gets is kind of not the route we're taking. We're just going to do some general fields. So say card.name or nothing. And then we'll say evolves from equals card.evolves from or nothing. And then let's do particular artist equals, oh, I need to put an and before particular artist, an ampersand, and say card.artist or nothing. Okay, and I'll save, and Pretty Row do a little bit of magic there. And then let's go href is equal to poke.com. And let's give this a class name of, let me think, we want it to be block, so it takes up the whole li, and we want the height to be full. And let's also do a targets of blank. And because this is React and we're going off the page, we also need to do a rel equals no opener, no refer. Save that. Let's see what we get. We get huge cards, but we get the cards on the screen. Alright, let's make this just a little bit bigger. Oof, boy, that is definitely, those are responsive. Let's go into the card list really quick and drop our styles in so that way we can actually see what's going on. So, in the list, let's do class name, and there's going to be a bunch of these, so I'm just going to kind of go through them quick here. We're going to give it a margin of 5. We're going to say overflow. Y is going to be scroll. We're going to do grid. We're going to give everything a gap of 10, and then we're going to get responsive. So from the beginning, we'll say grid calls 2. When it's small, let's do grid calls 3. When it's medium, let's do grid calls 4, large grid calls 5, and at extra large grid calls 6. Whew. Jeez Louise. What else needs a style here? Let's actually style our no results really quick. So the wrapper for it is going to get flex grow, justify center, and item center. And then the actual no results text is going to get text black, text 2XL, and font lights. Okay. And did I put my prop types here? I didn't. That's not our prop types. Don't forget. Card list item dot prop types card PTO for objects. Save. And there we go. Nice list of cards. Let's go to the console for a second. Let's make it bigger. Hey, what are you doing? So we see they're bigger, and then let's go smaller, and we see, oh, so 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Nice and responsive. Beautiful. That's kind of like doing the grid template columns, repeat, auto fit, you know, that whole magical thing. That's kind of what I'm doing here. But I'm doing it with, you know, the classes for Tailwind. Alright, so the card list is done. We're showing our initial cards right here, which is the 50 of them. Each one should link off. So if I click on Cubone, it should link off to the website. And then it'll give you this information. We're not linking here because I actually at first was linking to this page, but this right here, this URL, the information, the data that we get back comes back a little differently. It doesn't really match up. So you end up getting a lot of like page not founds, but it doesn't happen as much when you just do a search in their database for the card name, the author, and evolves from if it exists. So that's why we're doing that, just to clarify, okay? So, okay, we want to, in our form, let's go down here and let's actually check this and make it a form, all right? And the form, thinking, let's say on submit is going to equal handle on submit. And let's just copy that. Say const handle on submit. It's going to get the event, and let's call prevent default so it doesn't do any actual submitting in the form. Let's also give it some class names. So class name equals flex call item center, and then margin Y5. So margin top and bottom 5. Let's do that. Oh, I didn't mean to save that. I don't want Prettier to mess with it. What are we gonna have here? We're gonna have two things here, right? So let's do a div, and then I'm gonna put a div here as a space holder, but this is actually gonna be that list of Pokemon types that we saw. So in this first div, we're going to put the input text. So inputs type equals, come on, you can do it. Type equals text. And value is going to equal, we'll call it search term. And then on change, let's go ahead and say, because all we're going to be doing is setting it, let's say E. Let me think for a second. Yeah, we're only going to be setting the search term. So let's say set search term e.target.value. And then let's go to our import, say use state, and then actually create the state. It's going to be search term and set search term, which is going to equal use state, and we'll make a string to start there. And then let's say on submit, let's just console.log search term. Okay. Oop, didn't mean to open that back up. Let's go to our site. Let's open up our console. Oh, actually, no, go back into card list item and just delete that console log so it's not flooding the console over here on the side. I mean, I suppose it would help if we had a submit button to submit the form with. So, and the same div as the input. Let's create a button. And let's say submits. And actually, I kind of like search better. Yeah, let's do search. And then let's say class name equals BG blue 700, text white, border rounded, shadow, and let's give it x-axis padding of 2, and a margin left of 2. And I think that should be good for the button, I believe. Let's see. Yep. Nope. I want to do also an H full for the wrapping container that it's going to have. But for now, let's just submit. Let's type submit, and we get whatever we typed here in the console. Okay. Let's style our input because that thing is impossible to see right now. So let's go to input, say class name. And then on the inputs, we're going to add some styles where there. Sorry, it's a new mouse. I'm having trouble clicking places. So let's do border. Border gray 500. Say rounded. Shadow. H full. Flex grow. And P1 for the padding. Okay. Let's take a look at that. There we go. Much better. Much better. So let's type in, say, Charizard. And there you go. Shows right here in the console. Perfect. Okay, so now let's take care of our submit function. So we have our handle submit. We're logging the search term, but what we need to do here is we need to make an Axios call. So let's in here type try catch ERR. Let's console.error our error, and then we're going to, let's think for a second. We need to actually go to the submit and make it an async function, and then let's say const, we'll destructure the data equals await axios.get. We're going to put it inside of some template string, and we're going to do https api.pokemon tcg.io/v1/cards, and name equals search term. Okay, and then we want to set cards to data.cards. Let's save it. Actually, every time we also submit, let's initially set cards to nothing. So that way it empties the card array every time we submit and search. So let's go here and let's say Charizard. Enter. Nice. Look at that. It works already. Alright, so let's also say after we set the cards, set search term. You don't have to do that. I like to do these things like, for instance, once it searches and it resolves, it'll empty the search field. So that way it's not staying in there. You can do whatever you like for that. This might be better off not clearing it, but I prefer to clear it. Let's also take care of this warning where it says each thing on the list should have a key. So where is it? Right here. So key equals card.id. And we're good. So technically, you'd be okay here. The last thing that I really want to do is to put the types list in. That one, I guess I will just kind of burn through a little bit. This way you can do some filtering of types as well with your Pokemon when you search. Okay, so let's go to our components folder. There's a new file, and let's say types.poketypes.js. And do RAFCE tab. And then inside of this file, I'm going to burn through this one really quick because this is really just a little bit extra. You technically don't need to do this part if you don't want to. I just like to make sure that all the videos that I make for you guys are complete to what I created in the project and give you more things to learn technically. So let's say poketypes prop types. And what are we gonna get here on the actual types? Let me think for a second. I'm actually not sure yet with that one. Let's leave that one blank for a second here. But what we want to do is we're going to need some state. So let's create some state and call it okay, types. Let's just call it types, set types, and that's going to equal to use states, and it's going to start as an empty array. Let's go here, import use states. We're going to pull all those in on mount, so let's also bring in use effect. And then I'm really quick just going to close all this other stuff so it's kind of not distracting. There we go. I can actually make this a little bit bigger too. Well, no, I don't like that. That's a little bit too big. If you'd prefer it to be bigger, just let me know in the comments. So let's do use effect. Because I, again, can't type today. I don't know what just happened. Sorry, something else opened. Okay, so use effect. And what do we want to do in here? We're going to say const get types. It's going to be an async function. And then we want to try catch inside of that function. And we will console error the error if it happens. And then we're going to use Axios to get those types. So let's destructure data from the response. And await Axios.gets. And we're going to use the same address, API, HTTPS API dot Pokemon TCG.io /v1/types. And then we are going to set types to data dot types. And then we actually have to call this right here and say, nope, sorry, I'm still inside of it. Go to the bottom and do get types. All right. Now I'm going to build out the, let's see, what do we want to do? We're going to build out the HTML, the JSX for this. So let's do a div. And this div is going to have a whole bunch of classes in it for grid as well. So I'm just going to paste these ones in really quick. And there you go. So I'll give a second so you can copy those. And then inside of this, we are going to map over all of the types, and we're going to create a label with a checkbox for each of them. So let's do types, that's map, type, and from here we're going to return a label that has a key of the type, because there's no doubles for the types here. So the key is type, and let's also do the classes right now. So class name, this is going to be a long one as well, so I'm going to paste these in. And I will explain what's happening here in just a second. Inside of the label, let's do a span, and we'll put the type here because it'll show the name. And then under that, we're going to create inputs where the type is equal to checkbox. We'll give it a class name of margin left 2. We'll give it a name, which it doesn't really need. I guess that's just me being extra. We'll give it a name of type. Value is equal to type as well. On change is what we're going to need for this. So on change is going to be on input change. So we're going to need to bring that in as a prop. And I believe that should be it. So let's save this. Something's not happy about something here. That's what it is. Okay. And then for the prop types, let's say on input change, and that'll be a function. And then let's also go to the actual props and the structure on input change. Save. Let's go back here. We're not going to see anything yet because we need to go into our search form and then import poke types from poke types, and then this div that I left right here as a space holder, this is where we're going to put those types in. Okay, let's go ahead and see what we get. And we get, nice, it's basic. Technically, let me see, what are we missing here? I don't think we're actually missing anything. I think that is all we need here. The only thing is that I need to pass the input change. So let's go to our search form. And let's say poke types on input change is going to equal, we'll call it handle type change. Okay. And we'll go up above the use effect and say const. What the heck did I call it again? That's bad. Oh, handle type change, right? Okay. Handle type change. That's going to get the event arguments. And we're going to destructure some things from that event. We're going to do value and checked equals e.target. And then if checked, then we want to set the search types. I'm sorry. What did I call it? Oh, we didn't actually create that state yet, did we? I'm in my head. Sorry. So we want to track the types here as well. So let's say const search types set search types equals use state. And it's going to be an array. Now let's go back to our handle type change and say if checked set search types, and let's use a function, and we're going to say we want everything that's already in there plus whatever the value is. So we'll spread out current and add the value. Otherwise, if it's not checked, we want to take it out, right? So set search types, and we want to do search types filter, and then let's say type, and we want to filter out any type that is not equal to the value. And let's just make sure we're passing it down. That's good right there for the types. So the only thing that we need to do to actually see it and make it work would be that when we submit, we want to also pass the types. So let's say name equals search term, ampersand, what the heck was it called? Types. And this is going to be a comma separated list. So we can actually just grab our search types and say dot join with a comma. But we're going to do an or nothing just in case search types doesn't exist. It throws off some kind of undefined. Or, yeah, sorry. Okay, now let's refresh just in case. Let's click on fire, search, and we get our fire Pokemon. The colors is something I will do right now. So let me show you. If you go to your Tailwind config, this is cool. We're going to extend the Tailwind configuration here. So we're going inside of theme, extend, and I'm going to paste this one in because we're getting a little long on time. But it is an object where we're going to do colors. And then inside of colors, it's going to get these arguments. And what this is here is I've just color matched all the different types. So that way we know what the colors are according to the cards. And to make this work, we will stop the server and say yarn build Tailwind. So that way it adds these into the Tailwind configuration. So we have the classes. So yarn start. And then back where I said I would explain what was going on, if we go back into poketypes.js and the label class name, it says type.to lowercase for each of these. This type.to lowercase is going to match up with each one of these names in the colors. And because we added it to the config, what's going to happen is that you're going to get a class for each one of those, and it's going to come up as text dash whatever the key is that you put in, which is type.to lowercase. So now if we go back and we refresh, we can see that we have all of our colors for our types. Now let's just do a search and say char. So here we go, right? We see that there's a trainer card because it says there's a char in it, but if we were to go and take fire, click on fire as a filter, and then do char, we're only going to get fire type cards, which won't be trainer cards that have char inside of them. And you can also do multiple, so if you do fire and grass together and do a search, you'll get whatever cards are fire and grass. Okay? So that's it. We're good to go. Let me know if this is too fast, too slow, too long. This is the first time I've done one full app in a full video. I've only done series before this. So again, just let me know how you feel about this one. I can always add things to this. I think I might also do a follow-up where I take all this and put it into context. So let me know if that sounds good as well. Otherwise, if you enjoyed the video, please feel free to thumbs up. Feel free to subscribe. It helps out with that YouTube algorithm. So thank you very much, and I will see you next time.